Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and welcome to PlayLoad. This is all my video game pickups for the month of August 2022. First, if you guys would do me a favor, like this video, comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't done that before. Also, hit me up on all the social media stuff in the description: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon, etc. I appreciate all the support. Thank you very much. Okay, out of the way. Now, it's not actually all of my pickups this month. A little disclaimer there. I have a few packages off to the side that normally I would have included in this video, but they're all themed to Shenmue, my favorite game of all time, and I thought that would make a more interesting video on its own. So a little teaser, if you're a Shenmue fan and you like looking at just random stuff, stay tuned for that. But for everybody else, stick around. We're going to be talking about all the other video game stuff we have. Now, the first thing I want to show you guys is a thing you would have already seen. I did a whole video on these. These are the Retro Fighters Defender controllers for the PS1, PS2/PS3. Like I said, did a whole video on it, but they were cool enough to send me not just one, they actually sent me 4 in all the different colors here. If you didn't see that video, well, you should. But the short version of it is a brand new PlayStation controller designed, well, a brand new controller designed for the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, 3, PlayStation Classic, as well as the Nintendo Switch, and it works on the PC. A little amendment to something I actually I had said in the review, specifically in regards to the PlayStation 3. I was having issues with it working via the backwards compatibility hardware on the PlayStation 3 60 gigabyte fat model. Turns out that wasn't just me. That's like a known thing, because a lot of third-party PlayStation 3 compatible controllers suffered from similar issues. So I'm no engineer, but I think the way they designed it is that the PS3 was very good at playing, third-party USB-based controllers, and I think it just used basically that same system, but that meant it came with the same bugs. Like, you can't turn the console on with it. It didn't support, like, the 6-axis stuff, all that sort of thing. So I recommend it largely, as I did in the video, for PS1 and PS2. I never really used it on the Switch or the PC, and I don't even own a PlayStation Classic, but yeah, I just thought I'd add that. But it turns out the guys over at Retro Fighters are aware of this, so they're actually making a PlayStation 3 specific controller that should address a lot of those issues. They actually commented on that video. I mean, I talked to them a little bit, and yeah, they're aware of it. They're working on it, so we'll see if maybe a firmware update to these can solve some of that, or if it's just a new controller will be required. I'm not totally sure. Either way, it's still a very good controller. Don't get me wrong. I agree with everything I said at the time. I just wanted to give you a little more information. So, link in the description if you want to check those out. But we'll move on from that. The next thing I got here was from GG Retro Gaming. GG Retro Gaming is a website. The dude who runs the store, he lives out in Sacramento. That's where they're based. And he has a tendency to just kind of like send me a game every month. I text him a lot. He talks back, and we just kind of, he kind of is like, here, I got all these things. You want any of this stuff? And sometimes I forget which ones I even picked, or if I picked anything. In this case, I don't remember picking this one. He just sent this. This is Crash Time Autobahn Pursuit for the Xbox 360. Some sort of racing game, which was cool of him to do. So thank you very much to GG Retro Gaming. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check him out, if you want to get any stuff over there. He's going to start focusing a lot more on imports soon, like Japanese stuff specifically, and claims it'll be like doing it to pass savings on because Japanese stuff is a lot cheaper in general, and I guess he's going to start doing more with consoles, but we'll see. But in the meantime, he's still got American inventory if you want to check this out. So yeah, Crash Time Autobahn Pursuit, and I know nothing else about this game, but clearly Autobahn, it implies it takes place in Germany, but beyond that, I don't know. But the license plate is a European Union license plate, and I can't tell. Usually they have like a letter indicating which country it's from, but I don't see the D, which is represents Germany, Deutschland. But anyway, whatever, doesn't matter. Next up, I got several games from GameFly. Does anybody remember GameFly? Yes, I am one of like the 18 people that still has a membership at GameFly, and it was really weird because I was looking over my credit card history there, and they actually said my startup date was September of 2004. So I've been with GameFly for like 18 years, which, wow. Like, you feel old when you see something like that. But anyway, for those who do not know what GameFly is, it is the concept of, you rent a game, they mail you the disc, Yes, it's still a thing that exists. Now, to be completely honest, I don't actually use it a lot for that purpose. It's actually one of the best ways to buy used games, especially for newer releases, because they'll sell them a lot cheaper very quickly as a used game, even though it usually isn't actually used or it's only been used a couple of times. And they often have like flash sales where they basically just dump their inventory. Now, that's not new. I've talked about that many times on this channel. What is new in this case is they randomly sent me an email saying like they had a whole bunch of coupons. They're like, I had a couple of $5 off coupons that were stackable, so it was like $10 off, and then they sent me this 25% off coupon. So when I stacked all this stuff together, it was a pretty good deal, so I picked up some games. I got 2 PS5 games. The first is Ikai, which actually the evil Rob Thanos had recommended this. He picked this up when we were in Anchorage, Alaska. But I could not find a copy. But you know, GameFly to the rescue. It's supposed to be a really cool survival horror game, and I'm really into those. So I wanted to make sure I got that. Plus, it's just nice to have some new PS5 content. The other one is called Oxide Room 104, which as well is a survival horror type of game. I know much less about this. This wasn't recommended to me specifically. It just looked interesting. This one also still comes with a manual and some postcards and stuff, which is actually pretty cool because one of the things that's neat about GameFly is that when they get the games, they just open them and rent the disc, and they leave the cases alone. So if there were any bonus things in it, like postcards or, in the next case, games, something in particular, they just kind of hold on to it, and then when you buy it, they just bundle it all back up and send it out. So very cool. The next one up, though, was Alex Kidd in Miracle World, you know, the old Sega franchise. This one actually comes with a bonus, like, you know, keychain, and I love the artwork on this because it straight up looks like a Sega Master System game, because that's where Alex Kidd originates. This is one of the cool things that Sega has been doing over the past few years, is there's a bunch of their old IPs like this, like Streets of Rage and so on and so forth. They've done tons of them, where and Panzer Dragoon, actually, where there's a whole bunch of their IPs they own that they don't have a whole lot of interest in internally developing games for, but they've kind of turned them over to fans and said, like, what do you think we could do? And then those games get made with Sega's blessing. Sega makes a little money. The fans get to make like a good game out of a franchise they love, and then everybody else gets to just enjoy the fact that we actually have a new Alex Kidd in Miracle World type of game, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I'm glad that Sega's policy on fans showing them love is to support them, as opposed to Nintendo, who famously will not. But that's a different matter. But yeah, either way, very cool to have that. And the last one up I got was Sniper Elite 5 France. I love the Sniper Elite games. Like, actually, uniquely, I'm the only person probably ever that got into Sniper Elite by playing the Wii U version of Sniper Elite V2. I loved that game. Absolutely loved it. I had no frame of reference, of course, but I just loved it. I loved it so much I bought the 360 version and beat it again on that. You know, I beat Sniper Elite 2 and 3 and 4. I even went back and I owned for years Sniper Elite 1 on the original Xbox, but that one I couldn't get into. The game mechanics were just too different than what I had enjoyed. So anyway, point is, I'm very excited about this. I like these games a lot. I also like that this is actually the newer art style that Xbox is going with. These are more of the Xbox Series X designed cases, as opposed to the previous like Xbox One style cases. I mean, obviously they work with each other. It's not a big deal, but I do like that that's just basically what the standard now is, what we're going forward with. So there you go. I don't know if it's... I don't think it's actually a Xbox Series X disc specifically. I'm pretty sure it's still the Xbox One build. But if I recall correctly, when I put it in the console, it did that thing where it's like, oh, there's an upgrade available. So we're still at a point where there are no real Xbox Series X games, or at least just a couple. And what I mean by that is, like, they're not shipping with, like, you know, Ultra HD Blu-ray based discs that contain like 100 gigabytes of data. They're still, you know, shipping out with standard Blu-ray discs, and if they detect a Series X, they just download the build. As a physical media enthusiast, I don't like that, but that's a discussion for another time. Either way, some cool pickups I bought over at GameFly. Next, I went to a few conventions this month. First, I went to Mo Game Con, which was in St. Louis, and then second, I went to Kansas City Retro in Kansas City, Missouri. Oddly, they were both in Missouri there. That said, I'm going to focus on the pickups I got from Kansas City first. That was a cool con. It was the second time I had done that one. I did the same convention back in December of 2021. But they were cool enough to bring me back. They had done, like, guy who runs it, his name is Nate, awesome guy. And he was like, yeah, I want you back at the con, and, you know, he hooked me up with the flight and everything, and I went down there, I brought the Sega Pluto so people could play that, and I just got to enjoy the convention and just, you know, pick up some stuff as I tend to do. Socialize with people, meet new people, etc. It was a fun time, so thank you to everybody who actually came out, because I know there were a bunch of people who came out specifically for the Pluto, there were people who came out specifically for me, and then there were people who came out specifically as, like, the grouping of those two things. That said, I also picked up some games, as one would expect. The first one I got was actually a freebie. I did not buy this. This was from a game called 2 Worlds 2 for the Xbox 360. I actually got this for free from a guy in my Discord named Zesty. Well, that's not his real name, but we'll call him that for the purposes of this video. He's actually been in a couple episodes on my Flying and Eating channel, the Milwaukee episodes, I believe. Anyway, so he was selling stuff. He had a vendor's table, and at the end of the con, you know, I was walking around, he just called me over. He's like, hey, I got this box. Anything in this box you can just have. You can have the whole box. I don't really care. And I looked inside, and I really didn't, to be completely honest, I really didn't need anything. It was either games I either had or didn't want. There was a lot of Wii Sports garbage, and not Wii Sports, but sports garbage on the Wii, or the same thing, just they're both just bad concepts. I don't like the Wii still. That has not changed. But anyway, my point is there was just stuff I didn't really need. This was the one that caught my attention, though, just because it was actually a game. I'm not going to say I, like, really wanted this game or this game is valuable. It's not. He was only asking, like, $5 for it. But I have the first one. It's just an RPG series, which is not even my type of series. But it's obviously in pretty good condition, and you can't beat free. That's a good deal. So it's a nice one to just kind of add to the collection. So Zesty, thank you very much for hooking me up with that. The other ones I got are all original Xbox games. My quest for the original Xbox remains the same. I still want a full set. It's probably the last full set console I will ever go for in my life. I don't know that for sure, but I'm just being realistic. That's probably the case. And so the first one I got here was actually just because a guy, again in my Discord named Orky Borky, decided that he, you know, was challenging me to find this game, and I normally ignore such things, but since it was suddenly there, I was like, all right, I do actually need the game. It's right there, and I was recently challenged. I was called out. I have to do it. That game is Hot Wheels Stunt Track Challenge. Orky Borky's a weird guy. But he really wanted me to find this game. Just a racing game, honestly. I don't really know much about it other than the fact it's obviously Hot Wheels. The other ones I got were just ones I needed. This one actually caught my attention because I thought this was going to be more expensive than it was. Then upon doing a little research, no, it's not. This is Freestyle Street Soccer. Why would that be expensive? It was a Blockbuster exclusive, like boldly branded as such back in the day. But this game is still not really worth anything. And it's probably just because it's the original Xbox and there's just so few of us that actually really seem to care. Though it's starting to change a little, but not a whole lot. There's some specific titles that are, but in general, no, just people don't really care. But yeah, the ill-fated Blockbuster exclusive Freestyle Street Soccer. We got Drive for Life, yet another racing game. This is an accidental thing where I got a lot of racing games this month. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which... okay. I mean, movie-based game. I never saw the movie. I know. I was one of the few that never did, but, yep, there it is. We got Cabela's Deer Hunt 2005. I thought I would have had this, but it turns out I don't. I think there's actually still another Cabela's game for the original Xbox I still don't have. I've always found these games kind of hilarious because you're just going around, like, killing animals and stuff. It's like, it's sadistic, but, like, it's treated like it's not. Like, I don't know. It's funny. It comes off like it thinks it's classy when it's just bad. And there's a lot of Cabela's games. Anyway, and then finally, Bad Boys Miami Takedown. I kind of forgot there was a Bad Boys game on the original Xbox. I don't know if the actual actors really did voice this. It's a different era. It might have been possible to get Will Smith to do something like that back then. I doubt he would have now. Martin Lawrence, he probably could have done that. He probably still could get him to do, but don't know. I don't know. Either way, there you go. That exists. So that was my pickups for Kansas City Retro. Again, great convention, and thanks again for them to having me out. But before that, earlier in the month, I had actually been to Mo Game Con, again, illustrated by the shirt. Now, Mo Game Con's a fun one. It's down in St. Louis. I've been to that convention every single time it has ever happened. I've been their only, as far as I know, recurring guest. I think the only other one is Steven Lucas. He was like a Nintendo World Championship champion when he was much younger. But I think he missed one of them. But whatever, doesn't matter. I went to that con every single time they've ever had it. They've always been cool enough to bring me out to it. Even the year it got canceled, it got cornholed. That's an old joke. Earlier this year, that con was supposed to happen. And then, like, a couple days before the con, the building they were hosting it in just canceled on them for something called a cornhole tournament, which was a concept it's a game where you throw bags or something, and I think of cornhole in more of the Urban Dictionary definition, so it was very appropriate for them to get cornholed. Anyway, so they did the main show this month, and they brought me to that. Like I said, they even had brought me down to the one that never happened. We just hung out for the weekend. It was awesome. But anyway, what did I pick up at the show? I got quite a few things. First up, some oddities. Well, okay, I had my badge type of thing here. This was supposed to be like my badge/ID, whatever, but I never really got a formal one because they're like, honestly, at this point, dude, your face is your ID. Like, nobody's going to stop you from going in there. So, but regardless, I had that. That was cool. But we also got some just rando things. We got this. This is a notepad, like, type of, like, a Post-it dispenser / pencil holder that you can use. This is from Aaron and Helen. They run a channel called Game and Browse. They actually made these out of, donor Super Nintendo cartridges, and the idea is that you load it with Post-its, take out, something when you have to write a note, and it's got a little pencil provided, and it's called Duly Noted. Just ha 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 ha. You make a note of that. But she just gave this to me. Helen just gave this to me as a nice little freebie. So thank you very much, Helen. That was cool. I also got a couple of stickers here. This is from Do You Nerd. Now, if you look them up, their thing is that they have this like Donkey Kong barrel, and they bring it to like everything, and their channel seems to be focused largely on this Donkey Kong barrel, and they give out these stickers if you meet them and take a photo with it to prove that you have met the Donkey Kong barrel. So thank you to Do You Nerd. This one was, and I got another sticker. This one's an Am2 sticker. This one was kind of interesting because this was from a guy also named Adam. Shout out, right on. He actually lives in Japan, but he was originally from Missouri, and for whatever reason, he decided to go to St. Louis for Mo GameCon. I'm assuming it was a combination of like, I need to go back home to sort some stuff out and whatever. I don't really know, but while he was there, he happened to be like, okay, yeah, I'll do Mo GameCon. He knew I was going, and he actually specifically bought this for me and brought it back. This is a very like fancy, nice sticker from Japan of the Am2 logo. Am2, of course, was Yu Suzuki's team when he was developing games at Sega, primarily under the Dreamcast brand. This is the one that would have been represented with Shenmue and Virtua Fighter and all that sort of stuff. So very cool. He said he got that for me specifically. So thank you, Adam. I appreciate that. Then we have some games. Now, the first game is, I'm just going to be honest here, usually I save the best thing in the video for last. You guys, if you've been watching the channel, you already know that, but I can't resist any longer. This is possibly the best pickup I've ever received, and I got it for free. I just could not believe it. What I got here, you just, for the Wii, obviously history's greatest console, and this game proves that, I got Sleepover Party. It has 60 party games. Do you know how many? This is one game. This is 60 games. Okay, so this is the greatest thing that has ever been made. Okay, yeah, I'm done with that bit. Why do I have this? So there's this dude who comes to... all right, I go to a bunch of cons, obviously. And there's this one guy, and I really need to get this dude's name down, because every time I see him, I'm just, like, blown away. He's obviously a fan, to an extent, because he gives me ironic garbage. But he actually is like one of the only people I've ever even encountered that actually bought my Spreadshirt merch. There's a link in this description. You can buy merch of me, and none of you did. But he did, and I can tell because he wears the hat from time to time. But anyway, that dude, whenever I see him at conventions, he always shows up and just gives me the worst game he can find. Usually in good condition, too. Like, this is complete. It's clearly never been played, and logically so. But he always hands that to me as, like, a gag gift, which I appreciate for humor's sake. And on top of that, another tradition he's got going on is that every time I see him, he has to find another Hannah Montana game, because apparently there's enough of them to do this. But he brings out a Hannah Montana game and has me sign it every time. Thank you, though. moving on. Now I'll bring that back up here. Where are we? Okay, there you go. This indestructible Wii game. Okay, now back to things I actually wanted. But again, dude, thank you. Thank you for the garbage. I got more original Xbox games. Now, the original Xbox games, again, just chipping away at the list. We've got Wakeboarding Unleashed featuring Sean Murray. This is something where they thought, yeah, we can market around this. It's a different era. I'm not saying I miss it or that it's good, just that it was different. I'm nostalgic for something that wasn't really good to begin with. We also got Tetris Worlds. This was an interesting one because there's a standalone release of this. Obviously, that's what this is. But there's a more common version of this that's bundled with Star Wars: The Clone Wars. And the two of them are together because there was a variant of the Xbox that was sold with that. So that's usually what people have. The standalone versions are not... They're usually a little bit more valuable. And when I say a little, I mean we're talking like $5. Like, it's not a lot of money. But it's just because they're less common because less people bought the standalone releases. But that's the standalone release of Tetris Worlds. Amf Extreme Bowling. I think it's not, but again, not by any means a valuable game, but it's one of those where I just don't see it. The package gave up. It's one of those where I just don't really see this game very often, and so, yeah, happy to pick it up. Let me fix this real quick. Bad package, bad. Okay, get rid of that, whatever that is. Next up, I got something that was actually free, which is always a good price. It was SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. Now, I actually, I believe the original version of this game was actually like a GameCube, PS2, Xbox game. I'm pretty sure I even have the Xbox version of it. And apparently it was one of those games where it was just supposed to be a corporate tie-in type of thing. You know, it's just, oh, the next SpongeBob game. But it turned out to be like a really good game that people actually really liked. Kind of like a GoldenEye, where it was never really meant to be such a big game. It was just kind of like a product, you know, but it ended up being a legendary game. Now, people say that the original version of this is fantastic, and so much so that it demanded this eventual complete remake. This isn't even like a remaster or re-release. This is like from a ground-up remake, is my understanding. I say this because I have not played the original. I'm sorry, I never did. But that's, in essence, what you have here, is a complete remake of that. Now, I haven't heard anybody really talk about this one since it launched. I've not heard anybody be like, oh, it lived up to what I expected or anything like that. Maybe it's not actually that good because it came for free, like I said. But either way, I got it. Now, how did that happen? Well, you kind of saw these off to the side. I was wandering around and I saw a table run by a guy I know named Kurt. He actually had a couple of vinyl records. First one up was Rocket Knight Adventures. That box really does not want to be here. Rocket Knight Adventures, which was a really cool Sega Genesis game. I actually have it right here. Just pull that over, why not? Rocket Knight Adventures. Had a vinyl record release, oddly enough. I think it's relatively recent. I don't know if... I don't know exactly the details of it, but yeah, Konami authorized it anyway. So, Rocket Knight Adventures score. That game has a score. And then the other one was Panzer Dragoon Saga. I actually also own this game. I can't grab it for you because it's in the other room. But Panzer Dragoon Saga for the Sega Saturn. This is a 2-disc set. I've already listened to both of them, which was really nice. They were fun to listen to. This one's also authorized by Sega. Anyway, so Kurt was actually only asking $20 for each of these, so $40 total. And I was like, oh, cool, yeah, I'm down for that. And then he threw in this, which was originally priced at $10. So basically, I got all that for $40. So that was a very nice little deal there. So thank you to Kurt if you watch this. Kurt actually also gave me a great deal years ago at one of the Mo Game Cons because he had like this massive Neo Geo CD collection. And I normally don't buy Japanese stuff domestically, but he gave me like sub-Japanese prices, which was impossible to pass up, so that was awesome. Now, I also got one last thing at that con, which was one of those pickups where you go like, I've been looking for this thing forever, and I've been just ignoring it because it's expensive, and I don't want to pay for it, and blah, 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 but I've wanted it for so long. And you know, it's one of those ones where you missed the boat when you could have got it cheap, but you just say, fine, I don't have a choice, I have to do it. And that game was The Terminator for Sega CD. This game is awesome. So basically, here's the deal with this. I've been looking for this for a long time. And I remember missing the opportunity to buy it for like $50 because I thought that was ridiculous, and that was like 10 years ago, whatever it was. Now it's a game that's like 200 plus. I did not pay 200 plus. I'm not gonna say it was closer to 100. We'll leave it around there. It was more than I should have spent on a game. I know that, but it's one that I really wanted because to me this is emblematic of everything the Sega CD should have been. Now, I know the Sega CD gets a bad rap in modern times by people who either never had it, have never used it, and they get all their opinions from YouTubers, which I'm guilty of, I guess. But to kind of speak about it more objectively, the purpose of that console was not what people think of it as, which is just, oh, it's the FMV game where you just play Night Trap and all you have the stupid little videos and everything. Yeah, that's what it evolved into. But the Sega CD hardware was actually pretty neat. It was like, you can kind of think of it like the original concept was PS4 to PS4 Pro. You were just going to take the base version of the Genesis and upgrade the crap out of it. So the upgrade would have included new rotating and scaling features and a few other things it could do under the hood for the actual like Genesis element of the game. But on top of that, it also had the capability of running video, albeit obviously inferior to by today's standards, but still video. You could see what you were doing. And then CD quality audio, which back then, brand new concept, so you didn't really get that. There were very few games, I think, that properly utilized that concept. Most of them just abused the fact that it supported video, and they put like entire video-based games on there, hence you get Night Trap. Even though people like that one, all the other ones that are Supreme Warrior and, whatever, all the ones that I just don't like. This game did that concept perfectly. They put on scenes from the Terminator movies, at least the first two. Well, definitely the first one. I think there was a scene from Terminator 2 at the beginning. But anyway, doesn't matter. Some footage from the movies. Then the score is great. It's actually done by, now he's very infamous, but Tommy Tallarico did the music for this game. And it's very good music, especially if you like Terminator. Now, what's even cooler about it is because of the nature of how the Sega CD worked, it basically was just a data ring plus music CD data. So the actual disc will work in a CD player and just play the music. You can put this disc in the Xbox Series X, which, by the way, has a CD player function, in case you're unaware, and it will play the music straight off the disc. And of course, if you want to rip it into a more digital form, you can pop it into a PC. All the online databases know what it is. They name the tracks automatically, and you can rip them to an MP3 or WAV or whatever you want to do with it. So you basically get like a bonus music CD out of it, too. I missed that. I think that's cool. They even mentioned how it's a big deal. It's got real CD audio, blah, blah, blah. And then on top of it, the game itself is actually pretty good. It's a side-scrolling shooter, like shoot-'em-up platformer type of thing. It is a lot of fun. And it's one of those games I've just wanted forever, and I just never really got around to doing it for price reasons. But I had to do it, because this dude had it much cheaper than everybody else. It was in immaculate condition. Like, this thing is pristine. I don't think he ever played it. I think he was just a collector who bought it and just held on to it. I put it in this plastic case. I even put one of those, like, styrofoam, not styrofoam, but those foam, like, inserts to protect the disc and everything. I did a video on that years ago. Yes, I did a video on foam inserts for Sega Saturn / Sega CD cases. You should go watch it. It's surprisingly funny. You'd be surprised how many YouTuber cameos I got for that video. Anyway, so yeah, this was my big like financial pickup of the month, but I'm very happy to have it. And also, I have to make fun of the evil Rob Thanos here again, because this was one of the few games he could lord over me as like, I have it and you don't. He still has a couple that I want, but this is now off that list. So awesome. I was very happy to get that at Mo GameCon. Now, we have a few things left. We got a couple of packages and then one kind of surprise at the end there. First up, these packages. Let's go with this one first. This package comes from Videogames New York, which I wonder if you can guess where they're from. This is something that he just kind of sent me as like a little promo type of thing, and I thought you guys would appreciate seeing it. So we are obviously coming up on the Dreamcast's birthday, which, stay tuned, there will be a video on that. He actually sent me some stuff to basically celebrate the fact that that was happening. So first, yeah, he included this little card, which I'll show you right here. This is just a card that Videogames New York has become one of the big distributors, if not the biggest distributor of new Dreamcast releases in North America. And so there's just this little card that just kind of explains, like, shows stuff that's coming up. We got a little packing peanut there. But inside, I'll just show you the titles first, and then we'll talk about them a little bit. First is Postal. Now, I did an entire video on Postal already. This is just the American artwork. I believe in my video, the one I was using was the European-style artwork. They functionally are exactly the same disc. It's just that this is the one that North America got. Now, Videogames New York's name is actually on this one, or actually I don't think it was on the European/Japanese style artwork. But yeah, this is like another fusion of like North American / Japanese, but yeah, either way, this is actually a really good game, by the way. I know Postal was infamously already a good game, but I underestimated how well this was done when it was converted. You can watch the video, but the long story short with it is Running with Scissors actually dumped the source code for this game on the internet years ago, begged someone to convert it to the Dreamcast, and it was done. I believe the guy's name was Dan Redfield, and it was Redfield. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting your first name. I'm pretty sure it was Dan. He took serious time and put in a lot of love to convert this over to the Dreamcast. He even went so far as to fix problems I didn't know existed. Like, he included all the DLC and patches, that sort of stuff, the early corrections, made some other changes, and then he fixed things that would have caused problems. Like, I didn't know this. Somebody said this in the comments of that video. Like, in Postal, I guess when you finish a level, you have to press like a certain command key to get out of it, which could not happen on the Dreamcast. So he like corrected that bug so that it wasn't a bug necessarily, it's just the way the game is, but he corrected it so that it would function on the Dreamcast more organically. Like, this dude took a lot of time to make sure that this game was good. This is a pretty good release for the Dreamcast. I actually really recommend this one. Next up was Shadow Gangs. I also did a video on this. This is also, again, the North American style. I had shown, actually in that one I showed the PAL version and the Japanese version, so now I've got all three going here. Again, the Videogames New York logo is on this now. This was also a very good game. It was made kind of in the vein of the Shinobi games that Sega used to produce. That was where it originated, and it became a Kickstarter project and ultimately got its Dreamcast release. This was also a lot of fun. Very hard, though. And the only thing I didn't like about it, as I mentioned in that video, was the time limits. Like, you have a surprisingly short amount of time to get through a level, which I don't like that. I feel like that's unnecessary. Like, it just adds unnecessary stress. A lot of gamers have anxiety, dude. Why would you put a timer on it? I don't like timing missions. But anyway, it's still a fun game. I just wish you could get rid of the time limit thing, or at least make the time limit substantially higher. But either way, it is a lot of fun. And it's got a DeLorean in it, which props to any game that bothers to put a DeLorean. So again, I'll put a link in the description to that video as well. But the other one that I thought was the most interesting, oddly enough, was Hermes. Now, Hermes is an old game for the Dreamcast. Like, it came out a few years ago. But they decided to re-release it for North America. This was done by Retro Guru. Now, like I said, I did a video on this, the original run of it, a long time ago, and I thought it was odd that he was bringing it back. No, he didn't just bring it back. There's actually new updates to this. I guess they added new content, they fixed some bugs, they did a bunch of work on it, and they actually upgraded this game over the original version. So that's pretty neat. I don't know if I'll do a dedicated video to it, just because the bugs and the changes and all that sort of stuff that are there may be kind of hard to discern relative to just like one level of the original version. But point is, if you never had the game, this is the version to get. And you can check that out for like a basic sense of what it is. But if I recall correctly, you're basically playing as a chef who's just trying to catch this chicken. And the chicken like poops, and you know, it's an oddball game. But what's really neat is not only did he send the regular one, he sent the limited edition. This limited edition version comes with a VMU that actually says Hermes. Now, I get like, from what I can tell, it actually is functional. Like, you could put batteries in it, the screen works, etc. It should be exactly the same thing. But you can actually get new VMUs now. Granted, they're inside the Hermes bundle. But that's going to be one of those things, if you're a Dreamcast collector and you really like VMUs, technically you have to add that one now, which is, I'm so stunned that of all the games to do that with, they did it with this. And all I can think of is, like, that gives you a lot more value in addition to the game being upgraded and, you know, patched and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's pretty cool. That's actually an exciting, very exciting little release on its own. Again, I have no reason to give it its own specific video, but I'll probably include it in the Dreamcast birthday video for sure. So thank you to Videogames New York. If any of those games look interesting to you, I'll put a link in the description and you can check them out. And then you will have them as well. But the birthday is coming up, and we're going to be doing something special for that. But this package is pertaining to that. This comes from the Bit Station. Now, the Bit Station has, in past years, been very interested in, like, you know, having something to do with the Dreamcast anniversary every year. Usually donating things or something like that. But this year, not only do they donate something, we're actually going to be doing a contest, a giveaway. And I'm not going to, you know, say too much about what that is. Stay tuned. On September 9th, I will have a Dreamcast birthday video, and you will have the chance to win some Dreamcast games if you want to. But for our purposes right now, they sent me this. This is an odd release for the Dreamcast. This is, well, first they sent me a sticker. It says, I am gaming inverted. That's pretty cool, from the Bit Station. But they actually sent me this game called Ghoul Grind Night of the Necromancer. Now, I'm going to be honest. This game's been out for like a year, and I had never heard of it. Do you know what that says when a Dreamcast release comes out and I never heard about it? This is obscure. This was actually, from my understanding, this was primarily intended for the NES. It was an indie project that was funded through Kickstarter, and one of their stretch goals was, hey, if we succeed, we will do a Dreamcast version, and they did. It is an odd Dreamcast release, though, because I have such a love-hate with this release, because the easiest solution they could have done was just take the NES ROM, throw it onto a Dreamcast emulator, and just dump that somewhere and say, there's your game. They didn't do that. They actually took the time to take, this is my understanding, they took the time to take their own source code and convert it to the Dreamcast properly, which is awesome. Then on top of that, they bothered to give it a full, like, you know, almost full retail release with a nice backdrop, a nice manual, a very thick manual, by the way. I've actually seen it before. And they took all the time in putting all that effort into it. And then at the very end, they published it on a CDR instead of a pressed disc. And I don't know why. It's like it was, you were right there. Right there. Like you're about to hit the home run and then just foul ball. Why? Like, what I want to see happen, I mean, it's very cool this release exists, and from what I understand, it's actually a pretty cool game. I just wish that it had been on a pressed disc. And what I'm hoping is that maybe Video Games New York, maybe Bit Station themselves, maybe, you know, Wave or Josh Prod, who's, you know, the king of Dreamcast independent scene. Maybe one of them will pick this up, because this is just sitting there. Like, this deserves more attention. You can give this like a proper, full-on press release. Like, Wave especially has been doing that with a lot of stuff lately. But let's read a little bit about it. Oh no, it's almost Halloween, and your best pal Vladimir is raising the dead. Ghouls, ghosts, and goblins are now walking the earth. The townsfolk of St. Krypton, I like that name, have been awakened from their slumber. Now it's up to St. Krypton's own justice-seeking vigilante Nox, Knight Sir Francisca, and his dagger adept girlfriend Veronica Mimmu. Okay, my French accent sucks, so it's getting harder. To put their friends and family back to rest and stop necromancing Vladimir Drakovici from causing havoc. Okay, you get it. Anyway, we got, with Nox's mighty throwing axes and Veronica's magical daggers, run, jump, shoot, and grind through 6 challenging and ghoul-fied worlds. Can you stop the best friend before midnight strikes on All Hallows Eve? Pretty cool. If you want to pick this up, I will put a link to it in the Bit Station's link in the description. This is probably going to be kind of an obscure release, because I get the sense they only print, I don't actually know this, but I get the sense they only did like 100 copies of this. Just because it was very, like, again, I never even heard about it, which tells you something, because, like, that's my division, man. But I do seriously hope that it gets picked up for like a full pressed release. Like the fact that it's like it's right in there, just I can't tell you how much that irks me. But either way, very cool, and thank you to the guys at Bit Station for sending that my way. Now, we're gonna go out with a bang here. There's something I kind of kept hidden here, and it's kind of an old pickup, but it's brand new to you. Back in October 2021. I was a guest at a convention called Pinball Expo here in Chicago. And it wasn't, I'm being totally honest, it really wasn't my thing, like, because it was primarily focused on pinball. And the reason, I'm going to be, again, totally honest, they had me as a guest is because I'm local, so it was just like an easy get, relatively. And I was, yeah, fine, happy to help you if you think, you know, there was a few people that you get like, oh, I watch your channel, whatever. But for the most part, I'm just going to be honest, it wasn't my crowd, you know what I mean? Like, so, there was some semblance of like a retro game section, but it was kind of minimal. And one of the things that was there was a guy who like had this incredible collection of stuff he was selling. And so I would spend a lot of time talking to the dude because we were like some of the only people in that, you know, specific area who had that sort of interest. And I showed all these pickups I got back in October last year in PlayLoad. The guy had crazy stuff. Like, what he told me was that he used to go to Japan and Hong Kong and various parts of Asia, and anytime he saw some interesting video game thing, he would just pick it up. And he bought bulk stuff because he was like, in the 90s and the aughts, nobody cared about any of this. So I would just amass it and bring it back. And then he's like, now I have a warehouse, no joke, a warehouse, full of stuff like this, and I just don't want it anymore. And he's just like, I got to get rid of it. There was some plans at some point, all that, just now I just got to get rid of stuff. And so I had picked up some cool things from him. But one thing I picked up that I never showed because it didn't work, and I knew that going in, he told me straight up, was this. A Turbo Express. Oh yes, NEC's Portable TurboGrafx 16. I have one. Now why are we talking about this now if I got it back in October? Well, the truth was, back then, he told me straight up it did not function. And he only wanted, here's the kicker, $50, which is amazing for a Turbo Express. So I gave him $50 and he gave me this. Now, I have a buddy named Chris, who I'll put a link in the description to his contact information. He's like the premier modder and repairer for anything PC Engine or TurboGrafx related. So I asked him if he could repair this. He's like, yeah, bring it on down. He lives in Indiana. He's actually like an hour away from me. So I was like, oh, score. So I brought it to him and dropped it off. And then the winter happened and I did not feel like driving. And then, of course, my late mother's house had that fire, and this was no longer a priority to me. But time has gone by. Chris had finished the work a long time ago, but finally I was like, hey, maybe I should come down and get that. And he was like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I went out and I got it. Now, here's what he did. He obviously got it working. That's his thing. He said there actually wasn't a whole lot wrong with it. He said there was really only 3 changes that he made. One, capacitors back then famously were bad, the ones that were put into these by default. The same with the Game Gear. They were just kind of cursed. So a lot of the time the screens would go out, the lighting would go out, the sound would go out, sound especially would go out on these things. So he fixed all that. That's good to go. He said that mine had contact trace problems with the control, like the buttons. He's like, one common thing is like when one of them gets broken, like all the buttons just go down. So he was like, I fixed that. And then he said the biggest thing actually was the screen. Now the screen didn't work at all. Now, what he said, if I recall correctly, is that there was actually nothing wrong with the screen. It was just the link between the two was broken. But the problem was that link can't just be patched together because it's like a proprietary thing that happens to die, unfortunately. So he said, while the screen itself does work, there's a way to fix it, really, because we can't replace that part. So what we can instead do is rig up an entirely new screen with more modern stuff. So that's what he did. And so what the screen that's in there now is unfortunately just a little bit like small. I think the original screens are like 2.3 millimeters or something like that. I don't remember the exact dimensions. This is like 2.1. It's like a very small difference. He said the alternative was to have a bigger screen, but in order to do that, you'd have to kind of cut some of this and it wouldn't really look stock anymore. So I was like, nah, it's fine. We can keep it smaller. Having the newer screen is great, though, because A, it's brighter, B, it's cleaner looking, and C, it actually requires much less power. He told me the original screens, even though they were good, they were gas guzzler screens. They would take like 20 volts to run. The newer one, which looks better, actually runs at like 5 volts. So he's like, the battery life in this thing's actually much, much better than it used to be, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it totally works great. And it's kind of cool to add that to the collection formally now. So there you go, Turbo Express. So that'll pretty much do it for me. I'll go out here with the sirens because I think they're coming to get me for how good of a deal this was. Thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you to Chris for working on that. Thank you to Video Games New York for the hookup there. Thank you again to the Bit Station for this, as well as GG Retro Gaming. Yeah, thanks a lot for that. That's really... thank you to Retro Fighters. Thank you to Zesty again for the hookup there. Thank you guys for watching. Oh, thank you, of course, again to Kansas City Retro and to Mo GameCon for the hookup there. Oh, and thanks again to Adam, Do You Nerd, and Game and Browse for the hookups there. I appreciate that as well. Thank you guys. If you guys could do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on all the social media stuff in the description: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon. And again, I actually do have a Spreadshirt thing if you want to buy merch, like this dude. This dude, I never got his name, I'm sorry. But he bought merch, and then he punished me forever for it. Don't you want to punish me by buying merch? And thanks to Kurt for the good deal on that. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all later.